from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me, John Horn, who's the CEO of StubGroup. John, the way I love to do it is usually I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. So tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what you are currently up to. So the floor is yours.
Sure thing. Well, Mehmet, thank you so much for having me on the show here. And like you mentioned, I'm the CEO of StubGroup. We are a digital advertising agency. So that means that I and my team are working all day, every day with clients, helping them to navigate the world of digital advertising, helping them to connect with customers online, whether that be, selling products online, selling physical services, selling information, whatever they're trying to communicate. And so I get to work with an awesome team from around the world. I'm based myself here in Texas, near San Antonio, Texas. So we're going through a fun summer right now, enjoying a heat wave as usual. And look forward to chatting about Google Ads and digital advertising and whatever else comes up today.
Great. Talking about heat waves, I'm in Dubai. So we have also already it's usually hot, but we have a heat waves. It was really, really hot all over the day. So anyway, good to have you. Good to have you with me here today, John. Now, one of the things usually I like to start with is, every guest I have with me, of course, they have different views of, what is happening in the market currently. I mean, what are the strategies that they are seeing? So, and on the show, we were chatting before we start the actual recording, I told you, usually I talk about founders and tech startups and so on. And of course, what comes to mind is SaaS companies. So what I want to ask you, John, today is how can SaaS companies align their go-to-market strategies with digital marketing in general? And let's specifically talk about Google Ads, so they can a little bit differentiate themselves in the market, because we know whatever domain they are in today, it's kind of a crowded market. It's hard to rely on the old style outreach methodologies. So what you're seeing in this space, what you're seeing really working with the SaaS companies?
You're absolutely right. It's a very crowded marketplace. And I think what we see work best for SaaS companies and many other companies as well is what I would call problem-oriented marketing, where you really need to understand what is the problem that you are solving for your desired customer. And then there's a couple different ways that you're going to leverage that in your marketing. So let's take Google Ads first. With Google, at least with traditionally what people think of as Google search, the beauty is that you can serve ads to people who are searching for specific things. So you need to understand what are the problems that you're solving that people are searching. If you have, I'll just make an example. Let's say you have a product that people who use Excel would want to use, and you make it easier to merge fields or do some specific use case that people are searching. How do I do this in Excel? Well, you can target ads to that. People search, how do I do X, Y, and Z in Excel? You can say, hey, stop using spreadsheets. Use this to make your life better. And so that's what I would call problem-oriented marketing on kind of the search side of things. Now, outside of search, it's very important also to think through, other places people are spending their time online, because a lot of people aren't necessarily searching their problems on Google. One very interesting thing that we're seeing now, obviously, is LLMs like ChatGPT and whatnot becoming more popular for people to go to as a starting place to search for answers to their problems. But people might not be searching. They might not even know that a solution exists, or they might not even realize that they have a problem until you point it out. And so that's where platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, other paid social platforms can come into play where you can target the type of person who might have the problem that you're solving. And again, your marketing should focus, your ad copy, your video should focus on, hey, are you having this problem? Here's the solution. And that I think is the really key aspect for SaaS businesses right now, to understand about their audiences and then exploit, for lack of a better word, in their marketing and in their messaging.
Very cool, John. But one thing I want to ask you about, because we're talking about SaaS, how, the difference will happen between a B2C SaaS and a B2B. Now, I had a debate, a couple of months back with one of my friends about, especially outside of Google, like the Instagrams and the others. Like, do you think B2B should go that route also as well? Because I'm saying you never know who would be using, the app. We never know who's behind the screen. So what usually you advise, your clients based on, again, their target customers, if they are B2B, different than the B2C? Because to your point, John, and this is something you made it very interesting, and I agree with you, you never know where they are looking to solve their problems. So this is very important. I need to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll give, the obvious answer first. Obviously, it depends. Every business is going to have a different strategy, different audience. But I think generally speaking, a lot of it comes down to what are the targeting options on different platforms. And a lot of the paid social platforms like Facebook and Instagram, as an example, actually have pretty good targeting options in the B2B space. So we can target people who have specific job titles, who work in specific industries, who are interested in things like, small business owners, stuff like that. And so for some B2B businesses, they're kind of so niched that it may be difficult for them to proactively find the right people. For other people, that targeting may actually exist pretty well, and they can go and use Facebook or Instagram, or of course LinkedIn, which is built as a B2B platform. And so I'm not going to say that it's a good fit for every single B2B player, because it's not. But for a lot of them, I think the targeting is good enough on those platforms that you can actually reach the right people. Because again, it is people. Whether you're going B2C or B2B, ultimately you're trying to get in front of a person. And even though I, run a company, if I spend time on Facebook or Instagram, I'm still going to find interesting an ad that's talking about how they, the company can make my company more efficient or make more money, or whatever the use case may be. So for a lot of B2B businesses, they should definitely explore, I think, and test kind of that push paid social marketing and see if they can get in front of the right audience.
That's absolutely, right, I say, John, and thank you for highlighting this. Now, the other phase that comes after choosing, because you described also the process, right? So choosing, target audience, the copy that they're going to use, and so on. So now the next phase, or let's say the next step, would be trying to understand, how people are reacting, which are like what we know with the metrics, right? And again, I know the answer, but this is for people who might be doing this for the first time. How important is, having a data-driven approach in understanding, what the customers are looking for? And is there any recommendation you can give them for having these metrics in front of them?
Metrics are incredibly important in any marketing digital advertising. And one of the beauties of digital advertising is how many metrics there are that you can track. Now, it's not perfect. There's always going to be gaps in the data and things that you will have to, infer or make assumptions about. But you can see so much information about how people are engaging with your ads and then engaging with your website and what they're doing. So kind of the obvious things I would say are what we call conversion tracking in the market, or just, understanding what are the key interactions that people are taking with you, either through your website or through phone calls, chats, etc., and mapping those back to where are those coming from. So if you have forms on your website for, let's say, a free trial of your SaaS product, you need to be monitoring that, tracking that, and tracking that back to, okay, which campaigns, which ads, which keywords in the Google side of things, or which targeting on, let's say, the Facebook, Instagram side of things are driving those free trials. And then ideally, you want to track beyond that too. So not just free trials, but then which ones are turning into paying customers? And what are the patterns? Is it, hey, this campaign drives a lot of free trials, but then people actually become paying customers at a very low rate, whereas this campaign over here doesn't have as many free trials, but actually has more paying customers. And so you want to track all those things, track it back to the advertising that's driving things. And then also I'd say track things at a high level. So there's this idea of media efficiency ratio where because tracking isn't perfect and because people often see multiple touch points of your marketing before they convert, they might see your Facebook ads, they might also see your Google ads. And you can't just say, oh, it was just Facebook or just Google that contributed to this, this conversion. It was all of your things combined. So you want to look at, okay, how much revenue am I bringing in on a regular basis? How much am I spending on marketing to achieve that? And how is my efficiency of that? So am I seeing my revenue increase as my marketing spend increases? And am I seeing it at the same rate? Am I seeing the efficiency come down? So my revenue is increasing a little bit, but now I'm making less as a ratio because I'm spending a lot of marketing dollars to drive that. And so that's something I think it's important to track on a regular basis as well to understand just the efficiency of the overall marketing you're doing and to sometimes reevaluate and say, you know what, let's maybe test putting money into this platform for a while and see how that impacts overall revenue, even if you can't always directly track things back. And then also I think the other important reality is the conversion lag. In other words, the sales cycle, how long does it take for someone to actually become a customer? In the B2B space, for some companies, that can be a long time. It can take months for someone to turn into a customer. And when that's the reality, you've got to factor that as well into your analysis of your metrics, because you might be like, oh, hey, we didn't sign any customers this month. But if you're not, signing an average customer for 3 months, well, you're not going to. So you've got to test things for long enough to really see leads work through your pipeline in your sales cycle to really understand whether or not a particular strategy or campaign or marketing message is working or is not working.
Okay, that's very clear, very straightforward, I would say, and very informative also, John. Now, one thing, I'm not sure if this debate exists or not. I don't claim that, but do you think a startup can scale using Google Ads? Like how much, I would say scalability with Google Ads give these SaaS companies to get more customers to really become like on the growth stage?
I think many SaaS companies can scale using Google Ads. Obviously, it depends on what's the size of their market and who is their market. So if it's a SaaS business that's really oriented towards, let's say, enterprises, you're probably going to have a harder time really scaling through Google Ads because not that many enterprises are necessarily just Googling to find their solutions. They have more complicated processes and approved vendors and stuff like that. Whereas, hey, let's say it's going to all small businesses. Well, hey, there's a ton of small business owners and marketing managers out there who are searching Google for solutions, and you can sell a lot of SaaS through that. So it really depends on who you're targeting. I think the way I kind of describe, let's say, Google Ads for businesses is a lot of businesses, a lot of startups think of Google Ads as a magic bullet, as we're just going to run advertising on Google and it's going to do amazing. It's going to fix all of our problems. It's going to make us, tons and tons of money. And I think it's really important to understand how you're using Google Ads. And there's, I'd say, two primary ways that you should be using Google Ads. One can be, proof of concept. So let's say you're a new startup. You're trying to see, test out your strategy, your marketing, see if you can get people to sign up, to pay you money, etc. Well, you can use paid ads to expedite the process of figuring that out. Because if you wait on trying to, rank organically on Google, you might never do that, or it might be 6 months or a year. You don't have time for that. So you can kind of shortcut that proof of concept and see, do people have this need? Are they willing to, go to my website, sign up and pay me money? And so it can be useful for that. And then it can also be useful for scaling, for putting fire or putting fuel onto a fire if you have a strategy that's already working. So let's say you've got good processes in place, you're doing well, and you just need to get more leads into your pipeline. Google Ads can be great at accomplishing that. I think the pitfall that a lot of businesses fall into is saying, hey, my business is not doing well. Google Ads is going to fix that. The problem is if a business is not doing well, often that's because you don't have the right processes in place to to handle leads. You don't have the right reputation online. You got problems with your reputation. You don't have the right market fit or price point or whatever the case is. And so they want to pour a bunch of money onto that from Google Ads, and they end up wasting a lot of that money because they're putting fuel onto a fire that's burning up their money rather than propelling their business. And so you've got to be really, really careful about understanding the place of paid advertising and not viewing it as a magic bullet, but viewing it as fuel or as proof of concept for your business.
Very informative again, John. Now, talking about burning and, getting the outcome that they are looking for and so on. And coming back to startups in general, like, of course, startups, SaaS, they can be in any domain, but startups. So how much important is, doing a proper targeting, right? And also, part of this targeting, how much, you think leveraging AI, machine learning can play a role in getting this targeting strategy put in the right way?
Yeah, fantastic question. The targeting is key. The internet is a very big place, so you can reach a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of those people you can reach are not relevant to you, and so it's really easy to waste money showing ads to the wrong people. So targeting is crucial. Targeting is as crucial as the actual ads themselves that you're displaying, because your ads could be as they could be the best ads in the world, but if you're showing ads for a kiddie pool to someone who doesn't have kids, then it doesn't really matter how good your ads are. It's not, you're going to waste your money. So targeting is crucial, and all of the major platforms at this point are using AI to assist in targeting. So, back in the day, back in the quote unquote good old days, you would, let's take Google as an example, you would have these tremendously long lists of keywords that you're targeting and misspellings and things, because there really wasn't much AI built into things. And it was more about the humans figuring out, if someone misspells this word this way, I can bid this amount for it, and my competitors haven't figured that out, and I can get traffic and get conversions. That strategy doesn't really work anymore because of how good AI has become at inferring search intent and, what this person is likely to convert, this person is not likely to convert. So with all the major platforms, most of them use more automated bidding strategies and things once you are giving the system enough conversion data to work with. And so this kind of goes back to our conversation about tracking things as well, because the way that AI works is you say, look, this is what's happening from people that are reaching my website. These people are filling out forms. These people are calling. These people are chatting, whatever the case may be. And so Google is learning from that and saying, okay, here's all the patterns behind the scenes that Google is able to figure out. Time of day, device, this is what they're searching for. This is what they just searched for. This kind of pattern is what we see working well. So when we see this pattern come up again, we should bid for that. We should show your ad because it's likely to convert. And so most successful advertisers these days are just inherently using a lot of AI that's built into the platforms of Google and Facebook and Instagram that take that conversion data and then find other people that share those patterns. But again, that goes back to, you've got to give really good conversion data to Google to work with, because if you feed it poor information, if something goes wrong and you're saying, hey, these people are converting and they're not converting, then Google's just going to go get you a bunch of other people who also aren't converting profitably. So that's where kind of the humans need to be doing a really good job of understanding what are you feeding into the platform and monitoring that, making sure if thing breaks, you fix it as quickly as possible, so forth and so on.
Fantastic. And, I think here, John, like the concept of retargeting comes in, right? So, and how much important is this? And because, you mentioned something now that, knowing the intent of the person, right? So, where the privacy regulations and, all these things come into the picture, like how hard it make it for people like yourself who are like doing this on a consultancy and implementation, and of course if someone want to do that by themselves as a startup. So how this tricky part of the privacy also can be handled?
Yeah. Privacy is something, obviously, that's top of mind for many people, top of mind for all the big platforms, top of mind for all the legislatures, both here in the US and abroad as well. So it's a very hot topic, and I think there's certainly a trajectory towards more privacy, which makes it more difficult for digital advertisers to do exactly what they want to do or want to do historically. Because the ideal for a digital advertiser is to know as much as possible about everyone so that they can show the most targeted ads that are most likely to convert to everyone. And I think much of privacy right now, kind of how it's being handled regulations wise, is being implemented at the level of the big platforms. So Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc. They are kind of controlling how the privacy regulations that are being forced upon them are implemented, or that they're proactively putting into place. And then, they're allowing, okay, you can do this or you can't do this to their advertisers. So it's not that every advertiser has to go out necessarily and become, a privacy expert and do a bunch of custom coding on their website or things like that. It's more they have to understand how the platforms they use, Google, etc., are, what they are or are not allowing them to do. And there's still a lot of, very personalized advertising that's available online, retargeting, like you mentioned. That's the idea where if you go to a website, you're probably going to start seeing ads for what was offered on that website as you go to other websites and browse the web. And that can be very effective at keeping a brand front of mind to consumers as they make a decision, or to offering a coupon code if you come back and complete a purchase, things like that. And then the platforms themselves are trying to be very careful about, what you say in that remarketing. And also there's many industries where you're not allowed to do remarketing. So for example, many businesses in health related industries, they can't remarket because Google doesn't want an advertiser saying, hey, do you have, pick something, diabetes, and then someone sees the ad and says, wait, they know I have this. This is, personal confidential information. That's a problem. Google doesn't want that. And so in some of those more sensitive verticals, Google just doesn't allow remarketing. Same thing for other platforms as well, because they want to, keep privacy, and they don't want to get sued, and they don't want to get in trouble with the government either.
Of course, definitely. Now, shifting to another thing, I think it happened to me, by the way, but I mean, it happened to me still. I didn't know much about this space more than, I think, 15 years ago, where, I was trying to do something and I get my Google Ads account suspended.
Yes.
So, why this happens, like, let's talk about the suspension. So what is it, and why usually it gets suspended by Google?
Yeah. Suspensions is something that here at StubGroup, we spend a ton of time talking about. We're one of the leading resources in the world, actually, for helping people fix suspensions and policy issues, because it happens a lot. So Google has a broad list of policies that you have to follow in order to advertise with Google. And then there are all sorts of nuances and things within those policies that aren't particularly clear, that Google doesn't really lay out. And so what happens is Google suspends a ton of ad accounts. Last year, they suspended over 12 million advertiser ad accounts. And what suspend means, as you experienced, it sounds like back in the day, is they will not let you run any advertising on their platform. So they give you a red bar of death in your Google Ads account and say, you violated this policy, you can't advertise with us. And the only recourse to that is to try and figure out what you did wrong, or what Google thinks you did wrong, which are often two different things, and then appeal to Google and say, look, we, either, hey, we don't believe that we violated your policy, please review this, or hey, we found our mistake, sorry, we didn't realize that we were doing this, we're not going to do it again, please let us back on. And so it's usually a very challenging, drawn out process of trying to fix suspensions. Now, what Google's trying to do is they're trying to protect their ecosystem from bad actors, which is awesome. And I'm grateful that they do that, because there are tons of scam artists, malware farms, fill in the blank. There's a lot of websites out there that we do not want to be running Google Ads, because it would make the ecosystem dangerous to the people who are using Google. And so Google's trying to ban all of that and keep their ecosystem clean. The problem is there's a lot of legitimate advertisers who also get caught up in that, who either make a mistake, an honest mistake. And when I say a mistake, I'm not talking about, they had malware on their website. I'm talking about they accidentally had a redirect in their URL. They didn't know there was a problem. They didn't know that that was against Google's policies, or they didn't have the right policy pages on their website communicating their refund and return policy, or things like that. Just honest mistakes where, hey, we didn't know it was an issue, and yet we got suspended. And so the reality is that Google is not particularly helpful to suspended advertisers. They really, outside of pointing you to vague policies that you've violated, they don't tell you exactly what went wrong. They don't tell you exactly why they flagged your account. They don't tell you exactly how to fix it. And so that's where, StubGroup, for example, will work with businesses. And because we've been doing this for over a decade, we have a lot of ideas about what may have gone wrong and what Google may have flagged and thought is an issue or suspicious. And so we help businesses fix those things, whether that be in their ad account or their website or business information, wherever it is, and then help them to submit appeals to Google and walk through that process and ultimately try to get their account back, because it can be devastating to have a suspended account. So many businesses are relying upon Google for their advertising. And when they're suspended, they just can't get that business that they need. And so it can be a real problem for many businesses.
Yeah, it can be the end, right, for them. And now, outside of what you just mentioned, like, is there like any other like best practices they need to worry about? I mean, do you advise? Okay, maybe it's like kind of a weird question. Do you think a lot of people fall in this trap because they think they can do it by themselves and they don't seek help from professional people like yourself, John? Like, how important is to get someone who knows actually the ins and outs of the Google Ads platform, so they don't fall into the trap? Especially because when I try to understand it, of course I need maybe a course or something like this, right? Mm-hmm. So how important to seek the right help so you avoid. And again, one thing I wanted to highlight, John, especially for startups, how much this can make it, or like they can fail it if they don't do it the right way.
Yeah, there's a couple different answers to that. I think I'll answer the last question you asked there first, which is related to startups. And this, I've seen startups go under, not be able to make it because of suspensions and not being able to prove concept and get customers. And I've seen businesses almost go out of business or have to lay off a bunch of people. But thankfully, we're able to get them unsuspended in time and kind of stave that off. But it can be make or break it for many businesses, whether or not they're able to advertise through Google and sometimes other platforms. I think a lot of businesses, so most businesses, they have no idea that this is a thing until it happens to them. They just kind of assume, well, look, Google wants to take my money. We're a legitimate business. Obviously, if we ever had a problem, well, they want my money. So of course they're going to help me figure out what that problem is. And so they have no idea what the risk factors are until it's too late, until they've been suspended. And now in Google's mind, they're guilty until proven innocent, and they've got to try and prove their innocence essentially. And so that's one thing I'm passionate about, is trying to help educate the market to say, look, no, actually, you need to be aware of Google's policies. You need to kind of look through their best practices, look for red flags. And we put out a lot of information through our YouTube channel for free for businesses to just, watch and learn and understand, hey, here are some of the common mistakes you might make, some of the things that you should be aware of. Now, going to your question of, should people hire experts to work with them? I would say having experts on your side, people who are running Google Ads day in and day out, can be very helpful in avoiding suspensions. But even there, not necessarily. I can't tell you how many other agencies actually end up hiring StubGroup to fix suspensions for their clients, because it's just not a well understood kind of part of Google. Most people don't run into a suspension. And they're just, they know how to run Google Ads. They can be doing a great job at that, getting performance, but they just don't have the expertise of all the different things that Google looks at when they might decide to suspend an account. So I guess what I'm saying is, working with experts is probably always going to put you in a better place than if you're just doing things yourself. But just because you're working with an expert Google Ads agency doesn't mean that they're expert necessarily in Google Ads policy and the nuances of that. And so you should, ideally, you should find an agency who is expert about that, who is talking about that online. But you should also, as a business owner, as an advertiser, be researching things yourself, be at least understanding what are some of the common mistakes that advertisers make that can cause suspensions, and what are Google's policies, so that you're mitigating the likelihood of running into a suspension yourself.
Absolutely fantastic. And I like your approach for that, John. Thank you for sharing. Now, as we're coming to an end, I know also you have, while preparing, I get to know this, that you have taught digital advertising to hundreds of thousands of students. So, what drives the passion for you for teaching? And, the other thing, and we were talking about things that keep changing. How do you ensure that the content stay relevant and impactful?
Yeah, great questions. I enjoy sharing things with other people that I've found to work, and just seeing them implement that on their end and seeing it work well for them. Whether that be students, whether that be other team members on our company, it's very fulfilling to be able to share knowledge and share ideas, and then see those things provide value to other businesses, to other people. I mean, that's the entire business we're in as an agency, working with other clients. Our success is completely tied to the success of our clients. So it's fulfilling when we see that work well. It's frustrating when we don't see things work as well as we want them to. But that's the business that we're in, and that's what I'm passionate about. When it comes to keeping up with things, yes, things are changing constantly. Every day there's a new change from the platforms, whether how they operate, or how the back end advertising side of things works, or what best practices we're seeing work or not work. So there's always new things, which is fun. It does not get boring. There's a lot of variety to the job and to what we do. And I think really what we try to do to help the people who are following us for information is leveraging YouTube to create new content when things change, and say, hey, here's what changed, or here's what we're seeing working well, or here's our analysis of a new feature from Google. And so we'll create a video about that, put it out through our YouTube channel. And I believe a lot of people find that helpful, because unlike some industries, you can't write a book about Google Ads and then you're done, because by the time you hit publish on that book, something will be wrong about it already. Something will have changed. And so it's all about, fresh, new information, new strategies, and having a direct kind of path to where that content is coming from, which we like to use YouTube for that.
Absolutely. And, I know, of course, it's not a course or teaching by any mean, but I mean, even for the podcast, things change very fast, and, I need to keep myself updated. I need to make sure that, whatever information we convey to the audience also it's need to be updated. So, but yeah, again, it's very impressive, John. And, thank you for doing this, because I think, this is part of what a lot of startup founders, they need to know about SaaS. Also, people in the SaaS industry, they need to keep, updated about what's happening in the market, and what's the best way to get a good, I would say, I would call it healthy growth, customer acquisition through the right channels. And, digital marketing is indeed one of the most important, I would say, nowadays, because as we started the conversation, the old ways are not working pretty much as they used to be, and it's a crowded market. Finally, John, where people can get in touch with you and, know more about the services that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So our YouTube channel, just type StubGroup into YouTube. You'll see lots of that free content that I mentioned. And then our website, StubGroup.com, is a great place to go learn more about us. And if you're listening to this, watching this, if you are an advertiser or you're thinking about doing advertising, we'd love to chat with you. We call a free consultation, where we can either take a look at the current campaigns you're running and give you some ideas, or if you're not running anything, we can talk through kind of what an action plan would look like to test out platforms for you. And we'd love to have that conversation. So StubGroup.com, reach out through there, and our team would love to chat with you.
Great. I will make sure that everything you mentioned, that YouTube channel, the website, they are available inside the show notes. So if you are listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, you will find them in the show notes. If you are watching this on YouTube, you will find them into the description. John, thank you very much for sharing, all these insights with the audience today. It was very informative, even for me also as well. So I really appreciate the time and, all the content that you shared with us. And this is for the audience. This is how usually I end my show. If you have discovered this podcast by luck and, you just listened to this episode, thank you very much for doing so. If you like it, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the loyal people who keep listening and watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing so and sending me their comments, suggestions. Keep them coming. And I read them all. Please, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. And as I say always, thank you for tuning in. We'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.